Guy Fieri, and this is not Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. This is Scars and Cars. Hi, I'm Forrest Hamlet Brown. You know how people say they were born to do something? Well, I was born into the car business. And my favorite car is my first car, and it's right there. 70 Mustang Mach 1.
Injury years ago has kept me from doing the things I love. I'm better now, and my scars tell my story. Now I search for people who, like me, have an inspirational and sometimes life-changing story to tell, and the scars that remain. So join me as we cruise around in a cool car, listen to a good story, and finally see their scars. This is Scars and Cars. Scars and Cars, brought to you by the Browns family of dealerships. Find them at 4browns.com.
Hey, Scars and Cars fans. We got a 21 ZL1 Camaro for you today, and it is red hot. Yeah, the Browns family of dealerships had this one, and I just had to show it off. Red hot just happens to be the name of the color, and I think it's red hot. What do you think? And one of the best things, it's topless. You can use the automatic to shift or the paddle shifters. 4 different performance drive modes to choose from: Tour, Sport, Track, and of course snow and ice. But who's going to drive a car like this in the snow and ice? It's got the big Brembo brakes to stop these 20-inch wheels, Eagle F1 tires to take off and to slow you down. What is a ZL1? This makes it a ZL1. 650 horsepower, 650 foot-pounds of torque. This is the king of Camaros. You don't get any better than this. Hey, we got a little something special for you today. We are doing our salute to Guy Fieri, one of the greatest food guys out there, but he is also a muscle car guy, American muscle car. He's a car collector, so we got to tip our hats to that guy in this episode. And we're going to meet a special friend of mine, Michael Richardson, and we are also going to drive around town and stop in Flavortown, Elkader. Check out some local restaurants. We're going to Johnson's Restaurant, the Supper Club. We are going to Fenley's Irish Pub and Restaurant, and we're going to have dessert at Pedretti's, the world-famous bakery right here in Elkader, Iowa. Welcome to Scars and Cars. We got a fun episode for you today. We're driving around in a ZL1 21 Camaro, red convertible. We're doing our salute to Guy Fieri. Let's do that over. Doing our salute to Guy Fieri from Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, Triple D, Grocery Games, all kinds of good Food Network. If you ever watch the Food Network?
Yeah.
Cruising with Michael Richardson. Welcome to Scars and Cars, Michael.
Thanks, Forrest.
And we're having a little bit of fun here, driving around. There's my wife, Tina, talking to us. And we filmed in Elkader, Iowa before, but we're officially doing Flavortown, Elkader, Michael.
That sounds great to me.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit before this.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of like me. I like to eat.
Yeah,
You like to eat?
There's nothing wrong with that. I like to eat.
Yeah. So we're going to stop by a few local restaurants. Unfortunately, we won't have time to stop at them all, but we're going to stop by and have some good food at Flavortown, Elkader. You down with that?
That sounds great to me.
All right. So Michael, you are our youngest guest on Scars and Cars. Tell us how old you are, if you don't mind.
I'm 20 years old.
20, oh man, to be 20 again.
You're not that old.
Well, I'm a lot older than 20, I'll say that. Since you were our youngest guest on Scars and Cars, and we're doing kind of the salute to to Guy Fieri.
Yep.
We had to give it a red Camaro, and we just happened to have a red 21 Camaro ZL1 convertible in stock, which rarely happens.
Exactly.
But it just worked out perfect.
It's a very beautiful car.
Yeah, I think I'm getting some of the smells and the flavors of Flavortown here in
Smells
Elkader.
beautiful.
We're driving
Very
by
tasty.
Treats. They got some really nice, good coffee and paninis and all kinds of wraps and everything there. That's a good place if you're ever in Elkader. Okay, Michael, we're about to make our first stop here at Flavortown, Elkader. We're going to Fenley's, and they have their signature sandwiches that we're going to try. Do you mind just eating a few sandwiches with me?
That sounds good to me.
I'm going to have the Reuben.
I'm gonna have fish and chips.
Flavortown, right here. Well, we're going to take this ZL1 out on the highway, see if it really can do 0 to 60 in, what is it, 3.4 seconds.
Stretch your legs a little bit.
Oh, man. We're going to take it easy, though, because you don't want to abuse this thing. Okay, we had to stop. That was right there. Did you like that?
That was awesome.
Okay. What was your first car?
My first car, it was a 2005 F-150. I actually bought it from
First
my
truck?
dad. Yep.
Yeah.
He drove it for a lot of years, and I saved up through working. I started working young and always doing odds and ends, mowing for people and stuff like that, or working in the shop. And
Yeah.
so saved up, and that was my first vehicle. And that was my pride and joy. I love that thing.
And you work in your family business?
I
is that
do.
right?
I'm a mechanic at Richardson Trucking. And
Yeah, well, here, let's make it a little louder so everybody can hear. Richardson Trucking,
Richardson
right?
Trucking, yep, mechanic there. And
You guys got a lot of semis, or the red and white semis that you
Yep.
see them running down the highway in this area.
yeah, right around. We go a little bit everywhere, Nebraska, Missouri, even out in Ohio a little bit.
Nice.
We got about 26 trucks on the road, so there's quite a few, I guess.
I'll have the tenderloin.
I'll do the roasted chicken basket. It's very good.
Oh, that was good. Yeah, that's the general store. Monica, she makes some good food for lunch. Her enchiladas,
Oh,
primo.
enchiladas are always good.
Yeah, there's the Elkader Pizzeria. They have really good pizza there. Their Alfredo pizza. You ever had Alfredo pizza?
I have not. That sounds very good,
It's
though.
really good. They also have a good cheeseburger pizza there too.
Cheeseburger pizza is always very good. It's one of my favorites.
We'll agree on that one,
Yep.
right?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hey, welcome back to Scars and Cars. We were driving around in that 21 ZL1 Camaro. It was a lot of fun. Did you have some good time?
It was a great time.
Yeah, you like that car? Glad we
Very
picked that
nice,
one out.
yeah.
Well, we're doing our salute, and we had some good food, didn't we?
We did,
Salute
very
to
good.
Guy. So I got.
Yep, tummies are full. Very good.
Thanks again for all the hospitality from the local restaurants here in Flavortown, Elkader. Okay, well, we're going to get to the little bit more serious side now, Michael. Going to tell me a little bit about what your injuries were. Kind of a unique thing that you had happen to you. So you had an accident. I remember, like you said, my wife and you are cousins. I remember hearing about this. So if you could maybe tell me what happened that day.
So it was just a Sunday. We were out working. Dad and I were together, not working at the shop or anything like that, just around home. And we were lifting something heavy with the skid steer, and it was getting tippy.
Yeah.
And so it's not really abnormal. A farm kid or something like that, you'd hop on the back quick as a counterweight. So
So you can pull it back a little bit.
Just to add a little extra weight, just to try to balance it a little more.
Yep.
So I hopped on the back, and we got a New Holland, so it comes down in the back, and so you can actually hop on it like a horse, and the arms are all the way up. And so that's what I did, just to try to, you normally open the door up, but we were moving around, so I wanted to be stable. I didn't want to fall off or anything like that. And so I hopped on it like a horse, and then when we came out and the Dad released the pressure a little bit to bring the arms down, it was so much pressure from the weight that the arms came down really fast before I could push myself out or anything. And both my legs got trapped under the arms. And there was so much pressure and everything in my body from my legs being crushed that I couldn't say much. All I could get out was Dad. And luckily he knew that something was wrong. And so he started shaking the load off to where it was coming off the end of the forks and could release enough pressure for me to squeeze myself out the back. And then I fell on the ground, and he because the load was all at the front, so the skid steer was going all over the place. And so he finally got it calmed down, and he come out, and he thought he killed me, and so he was freaking out. I was laying on the ground, and I couldn't do much, and he ripped open my pants, and it was actually kind of funny. I was wearing my good jeans that day because we went to church, and I was wearing my good jeans, and I knew that I didn't want him to rip them open because I'm like, Mom's gonna be mad, ruining a good pair of jeans. And obviously they're not too worried about it. So he ripped them open and checked my legs out, and I really didn't have any blood or anything going. I had one initial pressure point where it started pulling apart a little bit, my leg.
Yeah.
But so there was no blood really at all, just a little bit.
So your legs, you basically compressed the tops like in your thighs,
yeah,
right?
Literally caught the edges of them pretty much and was shoving them downward. It was trying to just compress me to the skid steer basically, and luckily I was able to get out. And then afterwards he was gonna call an ambulance, and we live out of town a little ways. It takes a long time. We might as well just take our own pickup over town, and we ran and grabbed the truck and brought it over. But we were behind some stuff, so we couldn't pull it out right next to me. So he helped me up, and I was able to walk, but I had to lean on him. And it was kind of a scary part for me, just being 15. I stood up, and my eyes went black after a little bit of walking, just because I think my body was probably going into a little bit of,
some shock.
Yeah. And so my eyes went completely black, and I couldn't see where the truck was anymore. And so he helped guide me into the truck, and I laid my seat back, and we started heading to town. And then we got to the hospital, and we didn't call in or nothing because we didn't think about it.
Right.
It wasn't what was on our minds at all. And so then we pulled the truck up right outside, and at that point I couldn't walk or anything. I had all my pain. I didn't have no adrenaline left. And so Dad ran inside, and he told them what happened and that we needed a wheelchair right away and emergency, and they were still trying to figure out the insurance and what happened and stuff. And then so Dad actually grabbed a wheelchair and ran back outside and helped me into one. And it was actually kind of funny. I'm such a tall guy that the wheelchair wasn't made long enough for me, and we had to drag my feet in backwards because I couldn't lift them up myself anymore. Mom came over town then because we called her on the way over and told her what happened, and they did x-rays and stuff, and we found out there was no broken bones. So we thought, wow, we're in the clear, great.
Yeah.
But they wanted to ship me up to La Crosse right away to get looked at more, and they wanted to med flight me. And it's gonna sound weird, but I've never been in a helicopter, never been in an airplane. I didn't really want to start it that way. And I'm like, I'm fine with going in one, but that's not how I want to go in one. So I just told them I want an ambulance, and so they did.
Took you by ambulance?
Yeah, they
then?
did. They
Yeah.
listened to me and took me by ambulance, and which was good. I liked that, and which they said was really good because no fault at all and not getting anyone in trouble. But when we were leaving in the ambulance, it was funny because the 2 guys that got there, they came back and they're like, "Wow, you are huge," and I'm like, "Yeah," because these guys are 2 little skinny guys, and they're like, "Can you move?" And I said, "I can move my arms, but I can't move my legs." And they're like, "Okay." And so I said, "But my whole family's out, and they're all big." So they actually brought my family members back and picked me up and got me onto the stretcher. When they're putting me in the ambulance, the guy was shutting the door, and I'm so tall, my leg was hanging over, and he didn't see it, and my foot actually got hit by the door.
Oh no! And insult to injury
Yeah,
there.
it was all good. That's what I mean. I'm not getting anyone in trouble. It's all funny now.
Yeah. Well, it's good that you can laugh about
Yeah,
it now.
exactly.
So they took you up to La Crosse, and then what did they find out? What was the diagnosis there?
So we got to La Crosse, and there was doctors going in and out all for a long time. Then we finally got into a room, and the next day we couldn't really figure out, because there's no broken bones or nothing like that, they couldn't really figure out why I couldn't stand up. Then I had compartment syndrome surgery. My calf got so big from the swelling.
So if I could just back up there,
Yep.
you had compartment syndrome.
Yep.
So what is compartment syndrome?
I don't exactly know the exact what they call it. The reason I had it was because the swelling went all into my calf, and it got so big they were worried about it like hurting the muscles and anything inside of it. So then they basically cut it open to release all that pressure.
So you had that trauma
Yep.
to your legs there, and yeah, you didn't have any broken bones.
No.
But obviously the tissue around it was
Yeah.
pretty messed up.
Yep. And so yeah, it was my upper legs that got crushed, but all the swelling ran down to my calf, and that's what made it have compartment syndrome. And so after that surgery, and I stayed 18 days in the hospital there trying to get up, get moving and stuff like that. And finally I was able to. I was under a lot of pain for a while, and later it makes more sense, but at that point we didn't really know why, what everything was going on besides the initial accident. And then, so after I got out there, went home, had a bunch of physical therapy sessions. She noticed even like after I was walking or running or anything, I'd always get cramps in my legs, and we couldn't figure out what it was from. And I talked to the doctor and stuff before, and they didn't really, it wasn't understand because nothing else was damaged really in there. No bones are broken. And so then, but she noticed that my legs were always cold after even if I ran or anything. I could be sweating and my legs were completely cold. And so then we told my doctors that, and then they were worried then because they're like, well, that's weird. It seems like you're not getting circulation. And so they got me a bunch of scans. I can't remember all their technical terms. And they found out that my main arteries to my legs were crushed in the accident. And so that's when they figured out. But they said because I was so young that my veins actually started rerouting, and that's why I was in so much pain, is because they were trying to reroute to get blood flow to keep my legs alive.
The blood veins and,
Yep.
and arteries were finding different ways to get your blood circulated through
Yep.
you. Is that?
Because yep, exactly. It couldn't run through the main arteries, so then just kind of it grew new veins around, and which is pretty cool. They said if I would have been any older, they said 30, I would have guaranteed lost my legs. In
Wow.
between that, in between now and then, you never, or they said in between your age that you were, and after that, we don't know if you would have or not. So I got lucky that I was so young.
And you're an athlete.
Yep.
You were a big football player.
Yeah, I
and,
love football.
You were playing baseball.
Yep.
What didn't happen during your baseball season that
Yep,
you had
right
to,
at the end.
Yeah. What happened from there though? Didn't you have to have some more surgeries?
Yep, I had bypass surgeries and on both my legs to redo the veins and everything in them. And I also had it was like infection surgeries, just they said like from the swelling actually sitting in my legs, it like created an infection in there, and it just, I mean, you always try to get the swelling out, but there's just some left over in there from, it was a bad accident. And So I actually had, they call it like a grape-sized,
What was it?
yeah, abscess or whatever you want to call it, yeah.
Grapefruit, right?
Yeah, grapefruit, yeah.
Not a grape,
Yeah.
a grapefruit
Yeah.
size
Very large.
abscess in there. That's pretty
And
wild.
It did start getting painful, and that's when we went back to the doctor, because my legs were kind of sore, but it didn't like have a big deal. And then I noticed if I bumped a certain spot, it was kind of sore, and then I noticed that there was kind of warm. So then we went to the doctor, and they looked at it, and then they cut that out right away, and then it was all good. Then I had my bypasses after that, and then it was awesome. I didn't have no more leg cramps. It was great. After them healed up, it did take a long time, and it actually made sense because of my first surgery, that compartment syndrome surgery, they have to leave a hole open on your leg, and they try to close it with a wound vac and stuff.
Yeah.
And it would not close it was very slow healing. And later on, it made sense because there wasn't all the blood flow down there.
Wasn't getting any blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, to supply
So it
it.
was just very slow.
Yeah.
And so everything started making more sense as we found out more and all the reasonings. And then after I had done the bypass surgeries, I had an Achilles tendon lengthening surgery because my one foot didn't get used that much, and I actually got a little bit of a drop foot because I was always,
Yeah.
my right leg, for whatever reason at first, I had so many more surgeries on. So I was always mainly walking around on left leg and always just babying my right leg to try to
Yeah.
get by on it. And I got a little bit of a drop foot, and so they actually, my terms, I'm a mechanic, so that's how I think of it. They like drilled 3 holes in the back of my Achilles tendon to actually lengthen it up. And so that was one of the surgeries.
Stretch it
Yep.
out a little bit. Yeah.
So that was interesting too. And
Yeah. So, you talk about, I've had surgery. So you're our youngest guest on Scars and Cars, but I think you have the record for the most surgeries on Scars and Cars. Tell us, how many surgeries have you had?
I always kept count perfect for a long time, but there's a little over 20 surgeries now.
Over 20 surgeries. So if you can say, how long was the time for the recovery?
I mean, each time was a little different. They're like hospital stayed total, I think I have 29 days in the hospital. Original was 18, and then a few days stay after that. But then, like, some surgeries didn't take as long to,
Or like an outpatient surgery or something like that?
Like the
Yeah.
Achilles tendon, I was in and out, and that was pretty decent. They put on like this cast, and that was pretty fast healing. I just had to wear around a boot for a long time, so I didn't break it. But they let me work and everything in it. I mean, after so long, it was like a month or so, and then I could even work in it. And so that I was right away. But like the bypass surgeries and stuff like that, it took a while because I had to wait for like all the staples and everything to heal up. Because it was funny, this is a weird thing, but my number in football was always 78 through high school. That was my favorite number. And in each leg, perfectly, I had 78 staples. And the doctors never knew my number or nothing. It was just a coincidence. We counted them, and it was 78 on perfect.
That's crazy. I also have stories of my staples and my surgeries, and numbers that coincide with me.
It's so weird
it's
that
like,
it just, yeah.
To me, I'm like, it's something above.
Yep, exactly.
Me.
That's what I always said. There's something else going, but
Yeah.
someone's watching, you know.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have an accident, I suppose it was, like you said, very good that it happened, that you were at your age, very young guy, were able to heal up, as well as you did. And I know it affected, you were on track to be a pretty high recruit for football. I was trying to get you to go to the Iowa Hawkeyes. You were thinking Badgers, right?
Yeah.
And you look at your stature, your size, you are like the perfect O lineman. But that kind of I shouldn't say ruined, but it made a little detract off of your plan of schedule for what you were wanting to do with athletic-wise.
That was always my goal, though, and it did help me push through my everything I had. I've always worked on projects, working on trucks, stuff like that, and I've always loved football. And after I had my accident, I did put everything towards football because that's what I love the most out of all our sports. And so that was my first goal was, we got a trucking company, and I wanted to get back in a semi. I wanted to step up in the semi and I didn't drive it or anything, but just to know that I can climb into one again. Just because that's a simple thing that I knew if I set that goal, I wanted to just hit it right away. And so I was able to do that. And my other goal was to get back on the football field. No matter what it took, that's what my goal was. And so after all my surgeries and everything, so I missed my whole sophomore year. I didn't get to play just because of everything, which was fine. I still was there with my teammates. I got to go to every game, still got joy at everything. Didn't get to play, but that's not a big deal. And then my junior year, I missed almost half the season, if not a little more. I got to play our homecoming game. That was my first game back, and that was awesome.
Yeah.
Got to play that through the rest of the year.
I remember seeing the pictures and everything of that. That was kind of emotional.
Yeah, it
Cool.
was.
Yeah.
And then that felt awesome just to be back out on the field. That was a big goal, and that's like you said. It's how do you get through everything? Like it was always in the back of my mind. I just want to be normal. I want to be everything. That's how I always look at it. Through an accident, like anything bad that happens, I always want to just try to be back to who I was and everything else.
It's been a long journey for you, and I know you worked really hard to get yourself back to where you're at right now. And I know that you're enjoying what you're doing.
I am.
And that's you decided, you know what, I'm going to be a trucker and work at the trucking, the family business. And I know your family's really proud of you, and you're doing a great job. So, thanks for taking the time to being on Scars and Cars. You talked about your faith a little bit earlier and the higher power. We always kind of close things up with a quick prayer. You mind saying a quick prayer with me?
Sounds great.
All right. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for all the gracious gifts that you've given us, and we ask you to please watch out for those who have been in an accident or who are sick, and give them inspiration like Michael to recover and try to live as normal life as they possibly can. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Well, hey, thanks again, buddy, for being on Scars and Cars. Now comes the really interesting point. I'm not going to make you drop your pants right here, but we're going to go back to the dealership. I think you're going to change into some shorts, and then you're going to show us your scars.
Sounds good to me.
Show us your scars!
Wow, this one goes from your ankle all the way to your knee. You even have more.
I remember what it was like to have hair. Well, good memories. Hey, thanks for checking us out at Scars and Cars. We hope you liked it, but we'd love to hear your feedback, any comments you have. Tell us what your favorite car is, or if you got a scar story, please share it with us. Who knows, you might be on the next episode of Scars and Cars. So thanks again. Check us out online, and this has been a great episode of Scars and Cars.